I never thought I would be standing in a courtroom at 24 years old watching my own mother lie under oath. But there she was, in a navy blue dress I had never seen before, her hair cut short in a style that made her look younger and meaner. She kept her eyes on the lawyer the whole time. She never once looked at me. That was the thing about my mother. She could erase me completely, just by turning her head. My name is Nora, and this is the story of how my family broke me and how I built myself back from nothing. I grew up in a small town outside Portland, Oregon called Maple Crest. It was the kind of place where everyone knew your parents' credit score and your grandmother's medical history. The town had one traffic light and a diner that served the same pancakes for 40 years. I loved it when I was young because I didn't know any better. My father left when I was 7. I remember the morning exactly because he made me pancakes with chocolate chips shaped like a smiley face. Then he kissed my forehead and walked out the front door with a duffel bag. My mother stood in the kitchen doorway with her arms crossed. She didn't cry. She just said, "Well, there he goes." And that was the end of it. I learned later he ran off with a woman from his work, a receptionist named Carla. They moved to Arizona, and he sent a child support check every month like clockwork, but he never called. He never wrote.
He just disappeared into the desert with a woman who wore too much perfume and laughed at his jokes. My mother never forgave him, but more than that, she never forgave me for looking like him. I had his green eyes and his stubborn chin and his habit of humming when I was nervous. Every time I hummed, she would freeze up like I had slapped her. "Stop that," she would say. "You sound just like him." So I learned to stop humming. I learned to stop doing a lot of things. My older brother Liam was the golden child. He was 2 years older, and he could do no wrong. He got B's, and my mother framed them. He got a job at the hardware store, and she told all the neighbors he was practically the manager. He dropped out of community college, and she said he was finding his own path. I got straight A's, and she said grades don't measure character. I won the science fair, and she said anyone could glue baking soda volcanoes together. I was never enough. I was always a reminder of the man who left. But I was stubborn. I had to be. My father gave me that too. I decided in 8th grade that I was going to get out of Maple Crest. I was going to go to a real college somewhere far away, and I was never coming back. I worked every job you can imagine. I babysat the awful kids next door. I cleaned houses on weekends. I saved every penny. My mother didn't help. She said if I was so smart, I could figure it out myself. Liam got a new truck for his 16th birthday. I got a lecture about how expensive I was.
High school was lonely. I had friends, but not close ones. I was too busy working and studying to go to parties. The other kids thought I was weird. They called me Hermione behind my back because I always had my hand up in class. I didn't care. I had a plan. I applied to 17 colleges and got into 14. The best one was University of Southern California. Full scholarship, full ride. When the acceptance letter came, I sat on my bed and cried for an hour. I had done it. I had actually done it. My mother looked at the letter and said, "Well, I hope you know what you're doing." That was it. No congratulations, no hug, just that cold, flat voice, like I had announced I was joining a cult. Liam said, "Nice," and then asked if I could give him a ride to the mall. That was my family. I left for LA the week after graduation. My mother didn't come to the graduation ceremony. She said it was a waste of a Saturday. I walked across the stage in a gown that was too big and accepted my diploma, and I looked out at the bleachers where she should have been sitting. There was just empty metal. I smiled for the photographer anyway. I had learned to smile through everything. Los Angeles was a different planet. The air smelled like car exhaust and jasmine. People walked fast and talked faster. Nobody knew my name or my mother or the fact that my father ran off with a receptionist. I was nobody, and that felt like freedom. I threw myself into college like it was a sport. I majored in business with a minor in psychology because I wanted to understand why people did terrible things to each other. I made Dean's List every semester. I joined a study group that met in the library basement every Tuesday and Thursday. That's where I met him, Ethan. He was tall and quiet, with dark curly hair and glasses that made him look like a poet who fixed motorcycles on the weekend. He was a computer science major with a minor in philosophy, which I thought was the most pretentious and attractive combination I had ever heard. He didn't talk much in the group, but when he did, it was always smart, always kind. He helped me understand calculus once when I was about to throw my textbook out a window. He sat next to me for 2 hours, drawing graphs and explaining derivatives until it clicked. Then he smiled and said, "You got this," and I felt something open up in my chest. We started dating slowly, coffee after study group, then dinner, then walks around campus at night when the palm trees glowed orange under the streetlights. He held my hand like it was delicate. He listened when I talked about my mother. He never pushed me to forgive her. He just said, "That sounds really hard." And that was enough. Nobody had ever said that to me before. By sophomore year, we were living together in a tiny apartment off campus. It had a broken dishwasher and a landlord who never fixed anything, but it was ours. We had a cactus on the windowsill that Ethan kept forgetting to water.
We had mismatched plates from Goodwill. We had a bed that squeaked every time one of us moved. I loved every broken thing about that place. Ethan's family was normal in a way that felt almost fake to me. His parents were still married. They lived in a suburb of San Diego with a golden retriever named Miso and a vegetable garden that produced too many zucchinis every summer. They invited me for Thanksgiving, sophomore year. I spent the whole drive down psyching myself out. What if they hated me? What if they could tell I came from a family that fell apart? What if they looked at me and saw my mother's coldness or my father's abandonment? But they didn't. His mom, Nancy, hugged me the second I walked through the door. She said, "We've heard so much about you." And she meant it in a nice way, not a passive-aggressive way. His dad, Tom, grilled steaks and asked about my major and actually listened to the answers. Miso, the golden retriever, put her head in my lap and fell asleep. I almost cried at the dinner table. I had never been in a house that felt so safe, so whole. Ethan saw my face that night when we were lying in his childhood bedroom. The walls were still covered with posters of space shuttles and video games. He said, "You okay?" And I said, "I think your family broke my brain." He laughed and pulled me closer. He said, "They love you. I already told them you're the one." I didn't know what to say to that. Nobody had ever called me the one before. Junior year was when things started to change. Not with us, with me. I was doing well in school, and I had an internship lined up at a marketing firm in downtown LA. But my mother started calling more. Not because she missed me, because Liam had gotten arrested. He was caught selling prescription pills to some kids at the community college he was not actually attending. My mother was devastated. She called me sobbing, saying he was a good boy who just made a mistake. She asked me to send money for his lawyer. She asked me to call the judge and vouch for his character. I was 20 years old, and she wanted me to fix my older brother's felony. I sent $500 for my savings. I didn't know what else to do. Ethan said I didn't have to. He said it wasn't my responsibility. But guilt is a weird thing. Even when you know you shouldn't feel it, you feel it anyway. My mother raised me, even if she raised me badly. I still owed her something. Or at least that's what I told myself. Liam got probation and a fine. He moved back in with my mother and got a job at the same hardware store he worked at in high school. My mother acted like nothing had happened. She posted pictures of him on Facebook like, "Proud boy finally home." She never mentioned the money I sent. She never said thank you. I stopped calling as much after that. It hurt too much to hear her voice. She didn't seem to notice. She was busy doting on Liam. I was just the daughter who left. Senior year came fast. Ethan and I talked about the future constantly. He had a job offer from a tech company in San Francisco. I had an offer from a firm in LA. We decided to try long distance for a year, then pick a city together. It felt mature. It felt like something adults did. We celebrated our graduation with champagne on the roof of our apartment building. The city sparkled below us. Ethan said we made it, and I believed him. My mother did not come to my college graduation either. I didn't even ask her. I knew what she would say. I sent her a photo of me in my cap and gown with Ethan's arm around me. She texted back, "Nice." 1 word, 4 letters. That was the sum total of her pride in me. But I was okay. I had Ethan, I had a job, I had a future. For the first time in my life, I thought maybe I had escaped.
Maybe I had built something that my mother couldn't touch. I was wrong. She would find a way to reach into my perfect life and pull it apart like a loose thread. I just didn't know it yet. Long distance was harder than I expected. Ethan and I saw each other every other weekend, but the train rides and the rushed dinners and the Sunday night goodbyes started to wear on both of us. I missed the little things, the way he left coffee mugs everywhere, the way he hummed in the shower, the way he reached for me in his sleep. Without those things, I started to feel untethered, like I was floating away from myself. My job was demanding. I was working 60-hour weeks as a junior analyst. I was good at it, but it drained me. I came home to an empty apartment and ate dinner standing over the sink. I called Ethan every night, but we were both exhausted. The conversations got shorter. The silences got longer. We fought about stupid things, like who was going to visit who for the holidays. We never fought in college. Now we fought all the time. One night in October, I got a call from my mother. Liam was in trouble again. He had been drinking and driving, and he hit a parked car. No one was hurt, but he was facing jail time this time. My mother was hysterical. She said she needed me to come home and talk to the prosecutor. She said I was good with words. She said I could make him sound better than he was. I said no. It came out before I could stop it. I said, "No, Mom, I'm not coming. He made his choices. I can't fix this for him. I have my own life now." My mother went silent. Then she said something I will never forget. She said, "You're just like your father, running off to your fancy life, leaving the people who actually need you. You were always a selfish girl, Nora. Always." I hung up. I sat on my kitchen floor and cried until I couldn't breathe. Then I called Ethan. He didn't answer. It was 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. He was probably asleep. I left a voicemail that was just me sobbing. I regretted it the next morning, but I didn't delete it. Some part of me wanted him to hear how much I was hurting. He called back the next day and said he was worried about me. He said, maybe I should see a therapist. He said it gently and kindly, and it made me furious. I didn't want to be fixed. I wanted him to be angry for me. I wanted him to say, your mother is a monster, and your brother is a disaster, and you deserve better. But Ethan wasn't built that way. He was a problem solver. He saw a mess, and he wanted to clean it up. I didn't want to be cleaned up. I wanted to be held. That was the beginning of the end. Or maybe the beginning of something worse. I threw myself into work even harder. I started staying at the office until midnight. I stopped answering Ethan's texts as quickly. I stopped telling him about my day because nothing interesting happened. I was just grinding, pounding my head against spreadsheets and client feedback and deadlines that made no sense. I was burning out, but I couldn't stop. The new hire started in January. His name was Marcus. He was a senior strategist brought in from a competitor. He was tall and broad-shouldered with a beard that he kept perfectly trimmed. He wore expensive suits that fit him like they were painted on. He shook my hand on his first day and held my gaze a moment too long. He said, I heard you're the one to watch around here. I laughed it off, but I remembered the way his thumb brushed my knuckle. Marcus was married. He had a wife named Priya and 2 kids. He kept their photos on his desk. He talked about them constantly, in a way that seemed almost rehearsed. Like he wanted everyone to know he was a family man. But he also found reasons to talk to me. He asked for my opinion on projects. He asked me to grab coffee. He asked me to join a client dinner because he needed someone with my analytical skills. I was flattered. I was lonely. I was so goddamn lonely. Ethan and I had a bad fight in February. He came down to LA for Valentine's weekend, and I had to work late on Friday. He sat in my apartment for 3 hours waiting. When I finally got home, he was quiet. Too quiet. I asked what was wrong, and he said, I don't think you care about this relationship as much as I do. I got defensive. I said I was building a career. I said he didn't understand what it was like to be a woman in a competitive field. I said a lot of things I didn't mean. He said a lot of things he didn't mean either. We went to bed angry and woke up pretending we weren't. He left Sunday morning. The goodbye was stiff, a peck on the cheek, a wave from the door. I watched his car drive away, and I felt nothing. That scared me. I should have felt something. Sadness or relief or anything. But I was just empty. Like someone had scooped out my insides and left me hollow. Marcus texted me that night. It was a work thing, technically, a file he needed to review. But it was 9:30 on a Sunday, and he ended the message with a smiley face. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I saved the message anyway. I don't know why. The flirting got worse. Or better, depending on how you looked at it. Marcus started sitting next to me in meetings. He started bringing me coffee exactly the way I liked it. He started touching my arm when he laughed at my jokes. I knew it was wrong. I knew I was playing with fire, but I was starving for attention, for someone to see me, for someone to make me feel like I mattered. Ethan was supposed to visit again in March, but he canceled. His mom had a health scare. Nothing serious, but he wanted to be close to home. I said, of course, I understood, but I was angry. I was angry that his family needed him, and he went. My family needed me, and I said no. The hypocrisy made me sick, but I couldn't stop feeling it. I was jealous of his loyalty. I was jealous of his normal, healthy family. I was jealous of a golden retriever named Miso. I went out for drinks with Marcus after a client presentation, just us. The team had left early, but he asked if I wanted to debrief. We went to a bar near the office. Dark lighting, loud music. He ordered whiskey. I ordered wine. We talked about work for 20 minutes, and then we talked about everything else. He asked about my childhood. I told him more than I should have. About my father, about my mother, about Liam. He listened with his whole body, leaning in, nodding, asking follow-up questions. He said, "You're the strongest person I've ever met." He said that with all of this, you still built a career. You still got out. That's incredible, Nora. I believed him. I needed to believe someone. He kissed me in his car, in the parking lot behind the bar. It was raining, the kind of LA rain that feels like the sky is crying. He put his hand on my cheek and pulled me close, and I let him. I kissed him back. I kissed him like I was drowning and he was air. Then I went home and threw up. The affair lasted 4 months. I am not proud of this. I will never be proud of this. It was desperate and sad, and it ruined everything. Marcus told me he was leaving his wife. He told me we were soulmates. He told me he had never felt this way about anyone. I was 23 years old, and I wanted to believe in being chosen. I had never been chosen. Not by my father, not by my mother. Ethan chose me, but that felt different. Ethan chose me because I was safe. Marcus chose me because I was electric. That's what I told myself anyway. Looking back, I see how pathetic it was. A married man in an expensive suit telling a lonely young woman exactly what she wanted to hear. I was not special. I was just available. But at the time, I thought I was in love. I thought we were building something real. I thought the universe had finally given me a win. The guilt was constant. I stopped calling Ethan almost entirely. I told myself I was protecting him. I was really just a coward. Every time his name popped up on my phone, my stomach turned inside out. I started hiding my screen when I was around coworkers. I started lying about where I was. I became the kind of person I hated. The kind of person my mother warned me about. Ethan knew something was wrong. He asked me point blank in April if there was someone else. I said no. I said I was just stressed. I said I loved him. He said he loved me too. I cried on the phone after we hung up. I cried for a long time. Marcus never left his wife. Of course he didn't. There was always a reason to wait. The kids, the house, the finances. His mother was sick. His father needed help. The timing was never right. I started to see the pattern, but I was too deep to climb out. I had blown up my life for a man who kept a photo of his wife on his desk. I was despicable. The end came in July. Ethan showed up at my apartment unannounced. He had driven 6 hours from San Francisco because he couldn't take the distance anymore. He wanted to fix things. He wanted to remind me why we fell in love. He had flowers. He had my favorite takeout. He had a key to my apartment that I forgot he still had. I was with Marcus. Not in the apartment, but I was with him. We were at a hotel downtown, a stupid, expensive hotel where we went when we wanted to feel like we weren't garbage people. My phone was on silent. I had 12 missed calls from Ethan by the time I looked at it, and a text that said, "I'm here. I'm at your place. Where are you?" I left Marcus sleeping. I drove home like a criminal. My hands shook on the steering wheel. My mind was white static.
I walked into my apartment and Ethan was sitting on my couch. The flowers were on the counter. The takeout was untouched on the coffee table. He looked at me, and I could see he already knew. He said, "Where were you?" I said, "Work." He said, "At midnight on a Saturday?" I didn't have an answer. I didn't have anything. I just stood there in the doorway of my own apartment like a stranger. He said, "I saw your location. You were at the Marriott. Why were you at the Marriott, Nora?" I had forgotten about location sharing. We turned it on years ago for safety. I never thought about it. He never checked it. Until tonight. I told him the truth. Not all of it, not the worst parts, but enough. I told him I had been seeing someone from work. I told him it had been going on for months. I told him I was sorry. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just sat there on my couch with the flowers I didn't deserve and the takeout we would never eat. He said, "I thought we were building a life together." He said, "I was going to propose this weekend." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He set it on the coffee table between us. Then he stood up and walked out. I didn't go after him. I couldn't move. I sat down on the floor and stared at that box for an hour before I opened it. Inside was a simple ring, a diamond. Small but perfect. The kind of ring I would have loved before I became a monster. I called Marcus the next morning. I told him it was over. He said okay. Just okay.
Like we had been discussing a project timeline. I asked if he meant it, and he said he thought we both knew it wasn't going anywhere. He said he loved his wife. He said he was sorry if he gave me the wrong impression. Wrong impression. 4 months of I love yous and hotel rooms, and he called it a wrong impression. I hung up and threw my phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. I left it there for 3 days. My mother found out about everything from a Facebook post. I don't know who told her. Small towns talk. Someone from high school probably saw something. She called me, and for once, she didn't sound cold. She sounded almost satisfied, like she had been waiting for me to fail. She said, "I told you that you were just like your father. You destroy everything you touch." I hung up on her. Then I called Ethan. He didn't answer. He never answered again. He changed his number the next week. He deleted me from all social media. He disappeared like my father did, like everyone did. I was alone. I took a leave of absence from work. I told HR I was having a mental health crisis. It wasn't a lie. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't eat. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I started therapy, a real therapist this time, a woman named Dr. Chen who asked hard questions and didn't let me hide behind my metaphors. She asked me why I did it, why I cheated on someone who loved me. I didn't have a good answer at first. I said I was lonely. I said I was unhappy. I said Marcus made me feel seen. Dr. Chen nodded and said, "But Ethan saw you. He saw you for years. Why wasn't that enough?" I thought about it for a long time, weeks. The answer came to me slowly, like a bruise rising to the surface. I didn't believe I deserved to be loved. My mother spent my whole life telling me I was a failure, a reminder, a selfish girl. I believed her. So when Ethan loved me, I thought there had to be something wrong with him. He must not see the real me. But Marcus saw the real me, the broken, desperate, ugly me, and he wanted me anyway. That felt like validation. It felt like being chosen by someone who knew exactly how worthless I was. That's sick. I know that's sick, but that's what happened. I spent 6 months in recovery. Not rehab, just something I called my dark winter. I moved to a smaller apartment. I got a new job at a different firm. I stopped talking to my family completely. My mother sent a few texts, passive-aggressive things about how she was praying for me. I blocked her number. I blocked Liam, too. I needed to cut out the infection. I wrote Ethan a letter, a long one. I didn't send it. I just wrote it and burned it in my sink. The smoke alarm went off and my neighbor banged on the wall. It felt like a metaphor for my entire life. The call came in October, 15 months after everything fell apart. It was a lawyer from San Diego, a woman named Miss Hartwell, with a calm, professional voice. She asked if I was Nora Ellison. I said yes. She said she was representing Ethan, and she needed to ask me some questions. My heart stopped. I thought he was suing me. I thought he was pressing charges for something. I didn't know what. My mind went to every terrible place. Miss Hartwell said Ethan was getting married. Not to me, obviously. To a woman named Chloe, a teacher, someone he met at a friend's wedding. They were happy. Miss Hartwell said that was not why she was calling. She was calling because Ethan had been diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma. It was aggressive. It had spread. He was in treatment, but the prognosis was not good. He had asked Miss Hartwell to contact me because he wanted to see me, one time, before things got worse. I hung up and threw up in my kitchen sink. I drove to San Diego the next day. I didn't tell anyone I was going. I just got in my car and drove. The 6 hours felt like 6 minutes. I was in a trance. I didn't listen to music or podcasts. I just drove and thought about the boy with the curly hair and the glasses, the one who helped me with calculus, the one who held my hand on campus at night, the one I destroyed. He looked smaller than I remembered. The cancer had done that. He was pale and thin, and his hair was gone, but his eyes were the same, those green eyes that I fell in love with. He was sitting in a chair by a window overlooking a garden. Chloe was there too. She was pretty in a warm way. She had kind eyes. She looked at me and didn't seem angry. She just squeezed Ethan's hand and left the room. I sat across from him. I didn't know what to say. I said I'm sorry. I said it too many times until he told me to stop. He said he didn't ask me here for an apology. He said he had made peace with what happened. He said he had spent a long time being angry, but anger didn't help him fight the cancer, so he let it go. He said he forgave me. I didn't deserve that. I still don't. But he gave it to me anyway. He asked about my life. I told him I was in therapy. I told him I had cut off my family. I told him I was trying to be better. He said that was good. He said he was proud of me. He said he always knew I was strong. He just wished I had believed it sooner. We talked for 2 hours. About college, about the cactus he forgot to water, about his parents and Miso, the golden retriever who had passed away the year before. He laughed when he talked about Miso. He cried a little too. So did I. Before I left, he reached out his hand. I took it. His fingers were cold. He said, I want you to know something. The ring I bought for you, I gave it to Chloe. She wears it on her other hand. She knows the story. She doesn't mind. She said it was a ring that was meant to be given with love. And it was, even if you couldn't accept it then. I kissed his forehead. I told him I loved him. I told him I always would. He said he knew. And then I left. Ethan died 4 months later. Chloe called me. She said he went peacefully. She said he talked about me at the end. He said to tell me that I was not my mother. He said to tell me that I deserved to be happy. I went to the funeral. I stood in the back. I didn't speak to anyone. I watched Chloe cry on his mother's shoulder. I watched his father shake hands with 100 people. I watched the casket get lowered into the ground. And I felt something I had never felt before. Not guilt, not shame, just grief, pure and simple. I had lost someone I loved, and it was my fault. Not the cancer, the distance, the years we could have had, the life we could have built. I threw it away for a married man in an expensive suit who couldn't even look me in the eye at the end. I rebuilt my life after that, slowly, painfully. I changed careers. I left marketing and went into counseling. I got a master's degree in social work. I work with young women now, girls who grew up like me, girls with mothers who told them they were worthless, girls who believe they don't deserve love. I sit across from them, and I tell them my story, the whole ugly thing. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't turn it into a lesson. I just tell them what happened and what I learned. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot love someone else when you hate yourself. You cannot see a future when you're still running from your past. My mother called me last year. She had heard through the grapevine that I was a therapist now. She said she was proud of me. She said it like she meant it.
I didn't know what to do with that. I still don't. We talk sometimes, not often. She asked me to come home for Christmas. I said maybe. She didn't push. That was progress. Liam got sober. He works at a rehab center now. He helps other people the way he wishes someone had helped him. We aren't close, but we aren't enemies either. We send each other memes sometimes. That's the extent of our relationship. I am not married. I don't have kids. I have a cat named Oliver who is fat and lazy and perfect. I live in a small house with a garden. I grow tomatoes and zucchinis like Ethan's mom used to. I have friends, real ones, people who know what I did and love me anyway. That still surprises me sometimes. I think about Ethan every day, not in a haunted way, in a grateful way. He loved me when I couldn't love myself. He forgave me when I didn't deserve it. He taught me that grace is not something you earn. It's something you give. This is not a redemption story. I am not redeemed. I am just a woman who made terrible choices and is trying to be better. Some days I succeed, some days I fail, but I keep going because that's all any of us can do. If you are listening to this and you recognize yourself in my story, please know that you are not beyond repair. You are not your worst act. You are not what your mother said. You are not what you did when you were broken. You can change. It's hard. It takes years. It takes work. But you can change. I am living proof.